Darkness. I'm Rob Jacobs.
And I'm Father Bob Bailey.
This evening, we have three guests with us, three former members of the Taunton Paranormal Group, and we're all going to discuss and reminisce about some past evil or demonic cases that we experienced together. We have with us Ed Rodriguez. Welcome, Ed.
How you doing?
John Gomes. Welcome, John.
How you doing?
And Scotty Rodriguez. Welcome, Scotty.
That's me.
So, we worked together for how many years? 4 years?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
And in that time, we had, I'd say, 3 or 4 decent cases that were of somewhat of a demonic nature.
Yeah.
We can
Yes, some we went over in a previous show about our best and most, but it's nice to hear it from there. It'd be nice to hear it from
Exactly.
there as paranormal investigators, as investigators view of
Yeah,
that.
exactly. There was one, I don't think we brought up when we talked about either the most intense or scary case, which is one we did in Potsdam, New York, which was kind of one that was unexpected, I think. So, Ed, if you want to weigh in, and then we'll kind of go around and get each person's take on that case.
It was a strange case. It was one of these deals where you're going in blind. Really, we didn't know what we really had, but involving a mother and the family, it was just really strange.
Yeah, I mean, there was a foreboding. When we were
Exactly.
driving there, it was all
Yes.
dark.
I think the cornfields
Yeah.
that seemed to go on forever.
Ever.
We
No,
all
no, they didn't seem to go on forever. They
Did
literally
all of us
went
go?
on forever.
Potsdam, I didn't go.
Oh, you did.
Oh, you did go to that one.
Rochester.
You did Rochester.
That's right. Well, Scotty, there was part of that we talked about
There's a
earlier.
beautiful waterfall.
That's
That's right. We did, despite everything, we did have a fun time.
Yeah, it was-
We
it
did
was,
have a
you
fun
know.
time.
yeah, that was a good case. And I think while we were heading there was one thing that was very interesting where you started talking about something that happened with your ears. They were getting very hot, and then when we got to the person's house, the mother made reference
Yes.
something to do with the devil in the ears, or
Yes, I remember
which
that.
was very interesting. But I know I said that John, you were there with us. I was actually thinking about, and that was kind of a demonic case too, where we were in Rochester, New York.
Yes.
And you experienced some stuff at that house.
Yeah, I think one of the creepiest thing was when I think we were in the attic and I was taping you guys and Bob was doing his ritual and I could have sworn I heard a laughter coming behind me. It was fading or something, but when you play the tape, you actually heard a laugh.
That's right.
And then you hear me like, did you hear that? It sounds like a laugh. Take a picture behind me, and that was
Yeah.
really creepy. Right.
I think while we were there, I don't think anybody heard the laughter
Oh.
other than you
Yeah.
at that point, but it did show up on the videotape,
Yeah.
which was
It was like
significant.
more clearer because when I heard it, it was like a fade. I could have like, caught that part of it.
Ooh.
Well, I knew there was like something there, like right here, and it's just
Yeah.
Ed, take a picture behind me. And I could have sworn I heard laughter, but the fact that we documented it and then it came on tape and it was really loud and clear. This, as I said it, that was amazing. So.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think, if I remember correctly, that one kind of had us going all over the place.
Yeah.
It was kind of
Yeah.
frustrating. That would be
Well, that was the one we
frustrating.
also caught the picture in the backyard.
Oh, that's
In
right,
the,
that's right,
In the back deck of their
right.
of the house.
Oh, I forgot
Because
about
we
that.
kind
Yeah.
of caught a face. I mean, that's.
Yeah, almost the torso. I think it was
Yeah.
almost like a bust,
Yeah.
rather. That was
It's
interesting.
kinda
That
weird.
was good evidence.
Right in the middle of
Some good
the
evidence.
window.
And we were out there at night, you and I,
Yeah.
in the back, and I know from time to time we were seeing shadow forms
Yes.
over by the garage, which was
By the garage,
interesting.
correct.
Yeah.
And then right across from where we were, I don't know what possessed us, I think we were just taking pictures around the
Yeah.
house, and that showed up, and I remember, didn't we get a close-up of that? And you could make out,
Yeah. You can
Facial
make out
features.
facial features.
that was definitely an interesting one.
And even the Potsdam, now, I don't remember a lot about the battle pot itself that was significant, but after we did it, the dog would never go upstairs. I remember
Yes.
that.
Oh, prior to us
Prior
going
to
in.
that, and then all of a sudden they were looking for the dog and it was on the top of the steps.
Laying on one of the beds.
Yeah.
That's right. Correct.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was a good, a sign of a good resolve.
Didn't we
Yeah.
get a EVP on that one too that said leave priest?
Could have been.
It was one of those
It was
two.
either Rochester or Potsdam
Yeah.
that happened, but yeah.
Yeah.
But there was definitely, I remember going up the stairs in that home, and when you went to the left, it was the boys' bedroom, I believe, and it was very uncomfortable in that room
Yeah.
Yep.
while we were all in there. And I think, I don't know if it was the 11-hour drive, but we were beat
Yeah.
that day, you know?
But I do remember going up because we did hear about the reputation of the mother, and I didn't know what would be going
Right.
on because she could be, you know, her behavior could be very not angelic.
Erratic, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we
And-
found out that she was also involved in things like Satanism or
Well, that's
the
what I
occult,
mean,
right?
yeah, so, but on the way up, it really was weird. It was
Yeah.
very dark and it was, and usually I don't get that kind of foreboding like that, but we
Yeah.
really did.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was,
just,
that was a tough one.
yikes.
That was a long ride too. I mean,
Oh my
I
God.
mean, beyond the case, it was a long ride. We had to take the boat over.
Oh, that's right, the ferry.
We didn't see Champ
We
either.
didn't
No,
see
didn't
Champ,
see
No,
Champ.
no.
but that was
I
a good
think,
time.
and beyond, you know, the paranormal, I was kind of afraid to eat.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
It was the meatballs.
Yes. She made the meatballs.
I think I sat back and waited for a few people to eat before I took a bite.
And when we wanted to, you know, give a name to that, you know, we're bantering about, but
Go ahead,
you came
Scotty.
out, I know you wanted to say it. What was gonna be the name of
But
that?
yeah, well, we initially were on the way back. We were thinking about names, as we always did at that point, looking for names for cases, and we were gonna do the devil-made meatballs.
That's right.
But we kind of thought obviously that wasn't. you
No.
know,
Not proper.
it wasn't-
That will always stay though.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
will always stay with
No.
us.
It's kind of an
That
inside
one.
joke. So.
Well, it's not too inside now.
Well, it's not very inside now, but it was.
But you
We're
know,
letting you in behind the curtain.
that's
yeah.
it. And I think also the pot stand gave us an opportunity to work with another paranormal group, and they
Yes.
were very good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Privilege up in
Pistols.
Potsdam. Pistols,
Pistols.
right,
yeah.
yeah.
With
Good people.
Lana.
Yeah,
I think it was the
That was a good
paranormal
team.
investigators of the St. Lawrence Seaway.
See,
Yes.
right.
Is what that stood for. And Lana was very good, she was very thorough, and she kept in contact with Terry and myself to set that up for a long time, because it took a bit of time to get there. And, you know, surprisingly, I haven't heard much from her in a while now. I don't know if she's out of it or what, but I haven't even seen any posts. But it was nice to meet them and work with them, they were really good people.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we had,
But I
of
think
course,
our first encounter, which I'd like to get their point of view on that whole thing, was, were you, I know you and if you were Rob, I think you were with the rectory,
Yes,
you were there too, so.
yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, was that the first?
That was the first case for
of
the whole
demonic-
team.
For the whole team,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
demonic nature.
Actually, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's.
Actually, Scotty wasn't even a member
Yeah, it
of the
wasn't
team
even
yet.
Lana. I was-
That's
He just
right.
came along to do the filming first,
That's
That's
right.
because
That's
that was
right.
that's his specialty.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, I guess.
I
Guess
think
I'm
that-
involved.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that, after that,
Yeah.
with the evidence that we caught, but, you know, as paranormal investigators, to go into something dark as opposed to an ordinary, you know, haunt, I'd like to get your perspective on how you felt, or what, you know.
I think, you know, when you get to like a place, you know, you be sense something, especially you know when it's demonic, you know something's off. Because like being with TPG, when you got involved in more demonic cases, now I got to the point where now I know what's a regular haunt compared to demonic, and you just got that weird feeling like, no, it's something's not right here, or you can really tell that it's like something strong, a stronger presence here, especially with the rectory, you know, it's a rectory, it's a church, you think that it would be nice and calm, but you still had that urge, you know, like that strange feeling, like, that's how I felt.
I'll tell you, I was, as Ed mentioned, that I was going just to film. And I remember being honest, I remember thinking, wow, these people are a bunch of nuts. Like I had watched stuff on TV, but you know, stuff on TV is never,
Yeah.
you never know how real the stuff on TV is. So I remember being like, wow, these people are crazy. And then going back and reviewing the evidence, it was kind of like, okay, well, maybe they're not crazy, you know?
that's right, I thought we were crazy too.
Because I'm seeing it right here as well, you know, so. So it was certainly interesting from that perspective of not even being involved other than filming.
And I think there was a lot of ignorance on our part back
Yeah.
then too, you know, we didn't
All
know.
of us.
Yeah, it's our first, I mean, as a team, it was our first thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think working together and, you know, having gone on the, you know, doing the demonic ones for you as TPG, the Taunton Paranormal Group at the time, that you caught some really good evidence. I mean, the Rotary one, as we mentioned in one of the other episodes, was that shadow.
Yes.
You know,
Shadow.
and
The
that
shadow
was
that went
amazing.
behind the boxes.
You know, a lot of other things, we don't, you know, that's people's perception, people's
Right.
senses and all that. But that piece you just could not argue with, which was a great piece of evidence.
The part of that got me the most was when you were doing the blessing and you waved your arm and you didn't notice it at the time, but we found it later, you had lost your rosary that you wear around your wrist.
Ah,
And it just was sort of like something pulled it away from you.
that's,
That's one of the parts that got me. It was like, wow, that's just, if it's got that much oomph to go after a priest,
yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know?
yeah.
Well, that was a very chaotic night too. I mean, we had a lot of people in there, and all of us were pretty green,
Yeah.
you know, and it was like back and forth, and just trying to keep up with the camera, I'm
Yeah,
sure was
yeah, it
was
was-
a hard time.
It was crazy.
And with so much going on, I mean, and we didn't even know about that shadow until afterwards.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't until after.
I think what really intrigued us was when Louis and I had come to see you, and we were talking, and there was stuff going on in the other rooms, and it was like, there's nobody else
Oh, yeah,
here.
we heard, yeah, we heard, and
Yeah.
we went over that one too.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think that was, like you said, the first time that we all worked together, and it kind of
And
branched
for
off from there.
For a doc.
Yes.
Now, being the first demonic, you know, real demonic case, was there fear or apprehension with you? No, because obviously I called you guys because we had heard that, so
Right.
you knew you were going into that. Was there apprehension as an investigator knowing that this was most likely malevolent and not, you know,
Yeah,
Aunt Carrie?
yeah, not Aunt Carrie, we don't know who it is. But, yeah, I think to myself, it was like, I don't know, do I want to do this? Is this really what I'm up? If they're all going to be like this, I don't think so. But we're talking with you, talking with Rob, talking with Lou, I stayed in the game. I'm still in it today, so.
Right. And that's one thing before we go any further. The great thing is that both you, Ed, and you, John, are part of a group now, currently.
Yeah,
And the name of the group?
it's Fears.
FEARS, F-E-A-R-S,
Yeah.
which stands for,
First Encounters in Research Society.
very good.
And
So we're very happy you're continuing the work. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was like something we want to get back to. Like,
Yeah.
You know, we had some time off with, you know, I had things going on. Obviously, my mom passed away, which is
Right.
me.
And you had children.
And my kids, you know, I had a
Yeah.
family I had to take
Oh,
care
good.
of. And so I took time, about 2 years off, you know. And, you know, my head was in the game. Like, one of my friends invited me to stay the mill. And, you know, it was fun doing things once in a while. And then a couple of weeks ago, I had Clarissa Vasquez come up, and she was talking to me that Carl wanted to start Carl Ways on the side of the group. And I said, well, you know what, maybe it is time to get back to it one more time. And I sat down with them, we talked, and we figured, let's do this one more time, you know.
That's great.
Well, I figured that, you know, with experience with TBG, that, you know, I wanted to do more than ghosts and demonics and stuff. I wanted to do like from UFOs, aliens, Bigfoots, cryptics, lake monsters, all that stuff. Be like a different group out there so that people could reach out to us, like, oh, we do everything. So we talked about it, put it in the pitch, and we started Fears. And so yeah.
Well, I hear that there may be a Bigfoot in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
I know people with big feet.
I guess size 13, so.
No,
Oh, yeah.
but
There you go, there's a
all
Bigfoot.
kidding aside, supposedly there were
Sasquatch.
somebody who had witnessed something in Rhode Island.
It's not just one.
Yeah.
There have been
Yeah.
sightings.
Yeah.
What it is, we don't know.
We don't know.
But it's still, it's an interesting.
That's why we investigate, because we
Right.
don't know. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But that's good, you know, and you're part of that group too, Ed?
Yes.
And, you know, one of the other cases that we had mentioned was the case in Norton.
So,
That's-
Yes.
And
my
you-
favorite case?
Now,
Yeah.
now you know why I'm gonna
Yes,
bring
my
it
favorite
up.
case, my bite.
Yes. So could you explain to you what happened to the best of your recollection?
Before you do that, I just have to ask, do you still have the bike?
No, I don't. And the reason he brings that up is because when we filmed it and for the Animal Planet show, the actual guy from Animal Planet, this was a year later, he actually asked me.
What they do is they do the interview later
Right.
in, for post-production and everything, so.
Yeah.
And he asked me if I still had the bite. I'm like, okay, no. I mean, but you were doing I think you were doing a blessing or a provoking.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I just got this pain in my arm. And I yelled and
Yep.
we looked down and it was bruised right here. I'll tell you, it almost took me out of the game. That
Right.
was, like I said, again, I spoke with you two and
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah.
it just shows you that there's more out there than,
And that's
Yeah,
when
the
you
little
realize
ghost.
it's
yeah, it's not a game.
But-
Right.
And it's good to know that, you know, for other paranormal investigators going in there, whether you come to find out it's malevolent later on, or you going in thinking it is, there's always a risk of something like that happening.
Yes.
And you have to have the fortitude, you know, to say this is what I want to do, or if not, then, you know, it isn't.
Yeah,
Nothing
no,
wrong
you
with
limit.
nothing wrong with saying this isn't for me.
I mean,
you know?
exactly. I mean, and that's even after doing our protection prayers.
Right.
It's all with the blessing from you, the whole thing, and I still got bit. So it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot that went on that night.
Yeah, that
I think
was-
there was a few people that
Yeah. You.
experienced things, right?
You got overwhelmed.
We had the
one
bucket.
woman there.
The bucket
Oh, that's
was
right,
that-
that's
that
right, the
went
bucket that went flying from behind
Yeah.
me, and somebody was filming me.
flying.
Did we
I
get
think
that on
Terry
tape?
was-
We did,
Yes,
I
I
mean,
think
That's
you
another
heard
thing
it,
where we
but,
got
right,
tremendous.
right.
When you think about it, you guys got a good number of evidence,
yeah.
you know?
Well, yeah,
That's
usually
something
when there's
maybe you could put
provoking going
together,
on.
get all those things together, maybe like, get a
Video tribute.
video trip. Well, just of some of
Right.
the solid things on the demonic cases, you know?
Yeah,
So certainly,
The one thing I gotta say is, you're saying that we got a lot of evidence on this and we got a lot of evidence on that one. And as we all know, everyone in the room knows, you don't get evidence on every
No.
case.
no, and there've
And
been
if you-
plenty of them.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
plenty of them, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, not maybe personal experiences, but nothing tangible, nothing visual.
I mean, we've sat in houses for hours.
Yeah, nothing.
I mean, there was one, and I don't remember who else was on the case. I know Rob was there, Terry was there, and I was there. And we literally sat in this person's house in one of their bedrooms where the action was supposed to be happening for 6 hours. And
Yeah.
literally nothing happened. We sat there and stared at each other for 6 hours.
yeah.
And
But I
that
think
was
we've
pretty
learned
bad.
too, that if you're dealing with something negative, forget a ghost, but something of a demonic nature, they're not gonna just perform.
Yeah.
You know, usually it's the intended victim, and
Right.
they don't want the others to know. But you're right, I mean, we did one, and I believe it was Seekonk, and it was, I think, the hottest place we've ever been. It had to be 100
That
and
was
something
my
degrees.
friend's house, yeah.
Yeah, and we were in there for
I
hours,
think
and
it
I
was
think
110 in there with 100%
we were
humidity.
soaked,
Yeah.
and I think I almost passed out in the chair,
Yes.
or I may have passed out in the chair. Because we were there for hours, it was awful. But that's just some of the stuff you'd have to go through if you're trying to get some sort of evidence. And then, once you're done with that portion of it, which is taken, I don't know, however many hours you're there at the residence,
Yeah.
now you've got however many cameras with that many
Yep.
hours of footage.
And we watched it on half speed, so if it was 8 hours of footage, you got 16 hours of footage, because we were
Yeah.
watching everything on half speed, so it's
Yeah.
like,
And then you had the digital
But
recording,
it's-
obviously, that you had to go
Yeah.
over, so.
So if you got a case that wasn't very active, it made for a long,
Long.
long
Right.
review.
yes.
But, and it had to be done, because God forbid you miss something, it could be
Right.
something very important,
Yep.
and,
And now, since we're all together, we had mentioned that, we mentioned a woman's name, Terry. that she is a case manager,
That's right.
you know, and she doesn't like coming on things like this and talking, and we respect that very much. But it would be nice if she made a cameo and just waved at us. Could you just come over and say hello and wave at, so they can get to know who this Terry is that we talk about. I know she's gonna kill me.
Yeah, we're not.
You don't have to say a word, just come over and say
I'm
hello.
glad she's not one of my cases anymore. So I'd be doing all the demonics.
All right, our case manager Terry's gonna make her appearance here.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you.
She keeps us aligned.
I like
Yes.
to call my boys mine.
I remember, I mean, Terry was just here. I remember when we were trying to do the case managing ourselves, like as investigators, and you and Lou had the TV show and trying to run the cases, and that was brutal. I mean,
Yeah.
it just came to a point where we needed to look. We needed a case manager, and luckily Terry was like,
You know,
Terry wanted to take the pressure off Rob.
things often start off as good intentions and good ideas, and then once you proceed a little bit, you find out there's more entailed, just like anything else. And you know, Lou had a good idea. You know, doing the investigations was interesting. We all had an interest in it, and I think it ended at that point with him. You know, he was. That's what he wanted to do, was the investigations, but the amount that went with it, I don't think he had thought so much about, and he kind of fell into other laps.
yeah, I don't know that any of us did when we.
No, well, exactly, that's
You
true.
know.
You know, I don't think anybody would have realized, geez, you know, you're gonna do this.
You
you're
don't
gonna
see
do
that
this.
on TV.
No.
No,
It's all
no,
clean cut
exactly.
in
It's all
30 minutes.
30 minutes, see you later.
Yeah.
And I think it's always has been for us since the beginning, a learning curve. Every time you go out and do it, you think of what you would do better or what you would change, and it fully develops, you know.
Yeah.
At least for the ministry with
Yeah.
PWSM, because it was just, in
Because
some
you've
ways,
even
it's
changed the
untouched.
name of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Not just the name, I mean, if you look at the first time we were with you, and
Yeah.
the way you did
Oh, yeah.
your thing, I mean, you were like, yeah, you know, you were like, to where it's just solid, focused praying now, you know. There's just a big difference. I mean, even in the way that we do investigations, or, I mean, I don't do them so much anymore, but you learn and you change, and
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
usually for the better, so.
Right.
Yeah, and as I've said before, we worked out of the paranormal group paradigm, that model, because that's what was out there.
Yeah.
But then realizing the demonic and all that, and that I knew at some point, well, I didn't know, but at some point I realized that I have to do it a little different than that, you know, if I was gonna specialize in the demonic. So it's a learning, it's a learning and unfolding. But at the time, the model of the investigation paranormal group was what was good at the time, and that began.
That's what worked.
Yeah,
And then obviously stuff just evolved, and
yeah.
that's how it works.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because I think a lot of it starts from what you see on television, you know, I mean, that you kind of mimic to an extent.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, you know, you have people saying, well, they're trying to act like this, or they're trying to, but there's only so many ways you can kind of
Right.
do this, you know, I mean, there's not a whole lot that changes other than, okay, we're gonna film,
Mm.
and you're either gonna film with the lights on, or you're gonna use your IR. You've got a digital recorder, there's only so many kind of questions you're gonna be able to ask, so it really is kind of the same
An
thing.
investigation has a
Yeah.
procedure.
Yeah,
Any investigation. I
And
mean,
you're gonna have that quiet or questioning time,
Right.
dead time, whatever you wanna call
Well-
it. It's it's a common thread that's
Right.
something. So, you know, I think what we've learned, what we saw on TV was the only real model that was visible out there.
yeah,
You know.
I think one of the biggest keys was provoking too. And you know, when we were a group, and I used to do that a lot, and I think one of the biggest cases was, I think it was the house in Lincoln that we did, the wooden one. We found that snake skin. But,
oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about, I
Yep.
think that was, Smithfield.
Smithfield.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it was me and Ed, and we were upstairs in the bedroom, and in the hallways we got sworn that we heard it growling and stuff.
Yep.
This is another
Yeah.
one that you caught on tape, like, you know, we're talking, did you hear that? And you had that nice clear growl.
Yeah.
And then from there, I go on provoking, like, you know, you're scared, nothing, come show yourself.
Mhm.
That's when all of a sudden my eyes started burning, it felt like claws digging into my eyes, and I couldn't, like, I had to get out of here, like my eyes was burning,
Yep.
and he had to leave me out.
Yeah.
And that once again shows you that, it's how, when it comes, not doing the show you're dealing with, it's not a good idea to do what they do on TV, provoking, you should come in with respect, even if you're not sure what it is, because it could be demonic, they'll accept the challenge, so.
Yeah, and I think that we've learned that, as good as the TV shows were in getting it out there, and really, there was also a lot of stuff that were there that we shouldn't do, and that was unfortunately leading people down the wrong path, a dangerous path in investigations. So,
And you're gonna have that no matter what, because you can preach it like, you shouldn't be doing this, but there's,
well, the bottom line, TV is TV, okay, and they're both ratings. I'm not saying that it's fake.
Entertainment
Right.
value
It's
only.
entertainment value, but when you're doing it in real time, it's different.
Right.
It
Definitely
doesn't
different.
always come out, it doesn't come out in neat, and, production crews like to,
Right.
fashion everything together, but they don't take into account that some of those, like when I was on Paranormal State, it was like, those were like sometimes 2-3 days into a half an hour.
Yeah,
And there were some sessions we were there for like hours, nothing,
yeah.
nothing. Then you have the finished product in 28 minutes or 20, and,
I know,
you
it's
see all these
crazy.
things.
Well, look at even our Animal Planet episode. They took 50 hours worth of footage, the audio, and that went over a course of 6 months, from hearing the screams to what happened at home, from beginning at Norton.
Yep.
It's a 45 minutes, really, if you cut out all the commercials and everything. 45 minutes to tell the story, and they didn't really, not that they did a terrible job, but it wasn't exactly the way things
No.
really went,
They
and,
put their own spin on it.
right.
And that's the difference between television and real life investigations.
They need ratings.
Right.
Real-
Well, even look at the Ghost Hunters, here they are, they're filming, all right, let's do the evidence review, and that's a half-hour show, so it looks like, wow, man, that's quick, get it done.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Yeah. 10, 12 hours later, they
Yeah.
finally finished, and thank God editing,
Yeah.
the magic of television, it makes a big difference. Yeah, we learned the hard way,
Yeah.
you see it on TV, it looks very simple, and then when it comes down to it, there's a lot of hours invested.
But I'll tell you though, as much as, it was a neat thing being on TV, I would never want to do it again. Because it just, the real, the real heroes are the ones that are out there that don't get the recognition. And that's the real world,
Yeah.
And it's not polished, and it's not spun as to how production wants it, for
Mhm.
ratings.
Right.
Yeah,
And I just think that it's a much, I just would not wanna go back to that myself, unless it looks something for education like we're doing
Right.
now. But as far as,
well, even doing this, we're doing a shoot that's uncut, what you see is what you get,
Right.
because nothing's being added, nothing's being taken away. We shoot for about a half hour, and at least we have control over it to an extent, really full control over it.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Yep.
but it is what you see, it's not been cut up and nothing's been added to it, and it's a different purpose, it's for information, and for this, really, some kind of information, but also enjoyable and entertaining,
Right.
so it's a different kind of show, which is good, And we are actually up against the clock already, we're like 28 minutes here already.
but we were so happy, we've been talking
Yeah.
about having us all come back together, and we're really glad that you guys said yes.
It's great to be
I
back.
mean, it's
Well,
nice
we-
to reminisce,
Talked a few times and
Yeah.
been like, we
Yeah.
gotta get together, it's
Yeah.
been
But
too
with-
long.
which we are right after this.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna go and get some food.
But with your ministry going on, our work, and
Yeah.
the new team, it's
Yeah.
just tough.
Right,
Yeah,
so.
and everybody has their lives
Right.
Beyond
That's
this,
right,
that,
that's what I'm saying.
This
Work.
is
Try to
this
work at
life?
things.
This
Yeah,
life
there is
beyond the
life.
paranormal?
Well, you wouldn't think so if you're
well, I'll
on
tell you
TV.
what, I found a
Yeah.
lot of yard work lately. You got kids,
Yep.
just,
Yep.
and,
Working two
everybody
jobs,
has
it's
something.
fun.
Oh, that is gonna wrap up this episode of Confronting the Darkness. I wanna thank you guys very much for being here. It's been awesome to get together and,
Yes, it is.
chat about some
Thank
of the
you. We
old
should do
stuff.
it
It's
again.
been fun.
Yes,
Yeah, we absolutely could.
and remember, when confronting the darkness
Put on the whole armor of God.
with the sword of Saint Michael, God bless.
God bless.